The video of Selena Gomez crying over deportations is so fucking funny. Do you know how much I wish I could just be wealthy enough to be so genuinely out of touch? Like, be so real. How does that affect you? I'm not even joking. Is she being paid? Like, are you being paid?
I know this is a foreign concept for you as a conservative grifting rage baiter, but for most normal people, we don't need to get paid to care about something. Crazy, right? Some of us actually have empathy without needing a paycheck for it. So for starters, I'd like to point out that you suggested someone has to be rich to be this out of touch. So what's your excuse for being this out of touch when you don't have Selena's wealth? Then you went on to ask, how does this affect Selena Gomez? She's Hispanic. Why does it surprise you that deportations might emotionally impact her? Speaking of things that affect people, let's talk about LA, that city that you live in. Do you realize how much undocumented immigrants contribute to your quality of life? They make up a huge portion in the workforce in agriculture, construction, hospitality, industries that literally keep your city running. Every single time you eat fresh produce, go to a restaurant, or drive on roads maintained by construction workers, you're benefiting from their labor. So, by your logic, if undocumented immigrants don't personally harm your life, why are you so mad they exist? I know you're going to struggle very hard with this concept if you've even made it this far because I use more words than like and literally. But caring about issues that don't personally impact you are just things that decent human beings do.
But it's embarrassing to be a liberal now. When you say you're a liberal, I immediately think you have colorful hair, you work at a coffee shop, I think you're kind of a loser, you have like mental disorders you gave yourself.
Do you guys remember when being on the news actually meant something? Like once upon a time, if you made it on TV, it's because you had the intellect to discuss politics, current affairs, and things that actually matter. But when Emily Wilson brags about being on Fox News, it's like, congrats. You got invited to a televised group chat where the only requirement is hating liberals and having zero original thoughts. Oh, it's embarrassing to be a liberal now. When you say you're a liberal, I imagine you have colorful hair, you work at a coffee shop, and you're kind of a loser. Okay, Emily, well, I'm a liberal with brown hair and a corporate job. And while you're out here giving Fox News the burn book treatment, I actually have to know things to do my job. Meanwhile, your entire career is built on talking about liberals rather than contribute anything meaningful to politics. But let's talk about assumptions since we're making them. When I picture a certain type of person trying to fit into the mold of a historical figure obsessed with blonde hair and blue eyes, well, Emily, I have to say you come to mind. So if I'm supposed to be embarrassed for being a liberal, then what does that make you? Because from where I'm standing, the only thing worse than being a coffee shop liberal is being a blonde propaganda puppet who mistakes gossiping about liberals for actual political discourse.
I am so happy that they are in the works or talking about banning international students because as a student who's applying to medical school soon, I already know that even so many just public and private universities in Los Angeles and California, so many middle class and low income students, like we lose our spots to super rich foreign kids.
You haven't even applied to med school yet, and you are already blaming international students for taking your spot. That's not a pipeline issue, that's insecurity. I just know that a white woman did those lip fillers because no foreign esthetician would let you walk out like that. And you're not competing with them, you're proving their point. And you live in Los Angeles, a city built by immigrants, named in Spanish, and filled with foreign-born doctors who had to work twice as hard to be taken seriously there. You are not warning us about rich foreign kids, you're just mad that they might outperform you. And this is why so many of y'all cry about DEI, not because it's unfair, but because deep down you know that if merit was all that mattered, you wouldn't stand a chance. Imagine being mad at people who studied harder, worked harder, and just had better results. Couldn't be me.
My pretty woman in a ball gown, I'm Richard Gere in a tux, getting married in the courthouse, writing vows in a rug.
So, by your logic, women shouldn't be allowed to vote because they weren't subject to the draft, right? Okay, well then no one should be voting because the US hasn't had an active draft since 1973. That was over 50 years ago, so unless you're pushing 70 and got called up for Vietnam, maybe sit this one out. The majority of men voting today never faced a draft, never even worried about it. And yet somehow, they've still got the right to vote, no questions asked. But when it comes to women, suddenly you want to start attaching prerequisites. Let's really talk about equal responsibilities because plenty of men have avoided military service without consequence. Donald Trump dodged the draft 5 times and still managed to become president. So if not being drafted means you shouldn't vote, then you definitely shouldn't be able to run the country. But I get it. This was never about fairness or logic. This was about sounding edgy online while pandering to men who think rights should only apply when it's convenient for them. I don't know, this just screams pick-me energy dressed up as a history lesson, but you're not ready for that conversation. My favorite part about Zohran Mamdani winning the New York City mayoral race was the absolute crash-outs and fear-mongering Islamophobic propaganda spewing from the right, especially from people like Charlie Kirk and Aaron Wexler. You would have thought a brown man winning an election was the beginning of the apocalypse with how hard they spiraled. Aaron Wexler in particular took it to a level that was not only unhinged, but straight up genocidal. She saw Jewish New Yorkers holding a sign that said New York City Jews for Zohran, and her response was Jews for gas chambers. That's not just anti-Semitic, it's violently anti-Semitic. Using Holocaust language to target Jews who simply support Palestinian liberation. You can't scream never forget 1 minute and then mock Jews for remembering that never again applies to everyone. But she didn't stop there, no, she called New York Manhattan and Gaza of the Atlantic. This isn't satire, but it is lazy, recycled post-9/11 Islamophobia meant to make people scared of Muslims, Arabs, and anyone who doesn't look like her. All this over Zohran. So let's ask the question, what exactly is so threatening about his platform? Is it affordable rent, public housing, defending trans rights, wanting New York to divest from genocide? The only reason people like Aaron are this angry is because someone they can't control, someone who doesn't cater to white comfort, just won. I'm so sorry, Aaron, that not every Jewish person is a pawn in your racist narrative. Some of them actually read history, and some of them know better than to fall for fear-mongering about Muslims just because you wrapped it in a Zionist flag and called it a talking point. So go ahead and cope, loudly and publicly. Just know that none of us are falling for it anymore.
Guys, they're throwing the deportees out of the planes and into the ocean. No, this is not a drill. No, this is not fear-mongering. They're shackling people, flying out into open ocean and throwing them out, okay? The flight patterns, there's people tracking them on this app. The flights going out with the deportees, watching them go out to open ocean and circle back.
It honestly baffles me that over 1 million people liked that video and not a single credible source was cited, not one. As someone on the left who actually cares about deportations and family separations, I cannot co-sign this kind of reckless messaging. You're not helping the cause, you're embarrassing it. This makes us look no different than the people in Ohio who ran wild with that fake-ass story about immigrants eating cats and dogs. That was not rooted in truth, and neither is this. If we expect people to take us seriously, we have got to be better than this. We don't need to invent horror stories. The reality is bad enough. So let's not choose clout over credibility because you're handing the right exactly what they need to dismiss all of us. I'm just curious what made it so obvious that I grew up a trust fund kid. Was it the fact that my biological mom abandoned me when I was 5 years old? Was it the 11 evictions I faced between the ages of 5 to 10? Or when my dad lost full custody of me by my 12th birthday? Was it when I was living in a group home when I found out that my dad died of a drug overdose when I was 15 years old? Was it the fact that I was too poor in high school to play club volleyball, so in order to pay for my monthly fees to travel with the rest of my teammates, I had to sell water bottles at the University of Arizona football game so I could afford to do everything else that they could? Was it the fact that I had to win a local essay writing contest in order to receive free braces from a local orthodontist? Was it the fact that my entire life we had to walk to the grocery store whenever we needed groceries because my dad couldn't afford a car and I had to take the bus everywhere? Was it the fact that I myself couldn't afford my first car until I was 25 years old? Or was it that I grew up in the poor part of Tucson, Arizona? I promise you that is not the suburbs and I am not a trust fund baby, but nice fucking try.
So Democrats are lying again. That's why we call them fake news for a reason. And this time it's regarding Trump cutting Medicaid. Didn't happen.
So now that Congress passed the big beautiful bill, I guess it's time to talk about how much of a liar I am, along with every other Democrat that's been telling the truth about it. Because nothing screams I know what I'm talking about like opening with Democrats are lying and then immediately spewing complete bullshit. Republicans are literally cutting over $1 trillion from Medicaid. They are handing states a lump of cash and saying figure it out, and when that money runs dry, people lose coverage, plain and simple. That is not an increase, that's a cut whether you want to admit it or not. If you think otherwise, you either didn't read the bill or you're counting on the rest of us not to.
Republicans are actually increasing Medicaid funding by 24%. contrary to all the lies.
There is nothing even close to a 24% increase in that bill. That number is as imaginary as Trump's charitable donations. So unless you can point to the exact page and paragraph, maybe don't toss around fake stats with that much confidence.
Democrats love to act like everything Trump does is to benefit him